One more chapter after this.
Welcome to chapter 20, the second last chapter of Through the Mist. And Michael has prepared some questions for us. Take it away.
I thought it was significant that it's called Beulah land. And so there are some references to Beulah land in the Bible, and it's from Isaiah. And so Wikipedia says it is a land referred to in Isaiah 64, verse 2. It is the land of the Jewish people, the Israelites, to which they must return, an earthly paradise. And in biblical Hebrew, Beulah means married and is applied to the land that the people of Israel will marry. And the verse is, "You will be called Hephzibah, and your land Beulah, for the Lord will take delight in you, and your land will be married." I don't know what superlatives to say further. There's just a lot of feeling and a lot of history in the idea of Beulah. And I hadn't heard of it until this chapter. And it has a lot of meaning. So the chapter seems to me like one big experience for Fred. And so I thought I would ask everyone, what feeling did you take away from the chapter? And for me, I felt just reverence and peace, a great peace.
Okay, beautiful. Others? Okay.
I have a little list. I felt love, peace, supported, connection, unity, excited, desirous, and hopeful. But then my question was, can it be true?
Yeah.
And also sort of this awareness of that this is the God that loves me, and wanting to sit in that for a while and develop faith in that this is true, and this is the God that loves me.
Okay. Thank you. Others?
Like it's too good to be true.
Okay. Selena?
Kind of made me think about fairy tales and how we're told not to believe fairy tales. Like when you're little, you get to believe in fairy tales and then you don't. So the adult mind is supposed to say it's a fairy tale. Nothing's that good, you know?
Yeah.
So there's an injury in there, I think.
Yeah. The disillusionment.
Yeah,
the despair.
And that we're not supposed to believe in things that seem too good to be true.
Yeah. And yet you wonder why every children seems to be drawn to the fairy tales of beautiful castles and terraces and hills.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, beautiful places. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Others? Jill, do you have any feelings about this?
I kind of didn't believe it. Like, just kind of felt dread, actually. That this wasn't my place. Not that I wanted it to be, that it's like I'll never see this place. Like it's just like a fairy tale, like Selena said, fairy tale. Didn't believe it's true. Nice to have something to read in books, kind of thing. Right. So that fairy tale kind of aspect of things.
Okay. For me, it was one of my injuries is this feeling that I don't have a home. So I look at that and I go, can that finally be my home? So it's kind of bringing up some grief. Also just grief of, and some anger at being given this feeling that somehow I don't deserve a home. Like, why was that done to me? Why has this emotion entered me that somehow I'm not allowed to have a home? It's really weird. I haven't examined the origin of it. So there is a longing for, is that, I can almost hear a little child saying, is that home? Is that finally home? So there's hope, but then there's also kind of like a bitterness of like, yeah, but the work I'm going to have to do to get there, because those houses reflect how much love they have inside them. And so then my feeling is the despair of that right now I'm not good enough for it. So I think that's the feeling. I'm not good enough for it. And I don't know what it will take to be good enough. Like, it has to be earned. I have to be good enough for it. That's where it takes me. Yeah. Okay. Michael, do you have more to say about this?
Just, I guess I can, because they're my questions. I'll come back to the other questions that I wrote and throw them out, and we can comment on them.
Okay.
It makes me want to see if it really exists.
Yeah.
You know, I think I think I don't deserve it. I think I have inside of me a feeling like I don't deserve something that nice either, because I'm not connecting with a real strong feeling of home.
Yeah.
But the amount of soul development, and I'm thinking, okay, billions of spirits have soul development, and there's so much space between their homes. How big is this thing, and how many mountain ranges and valleys can there be?
Yeah.
And
And what sphere do you think that is?
I
Because
think it's
that's not celestial spirits, because they're saying this is
no.
just in between.
I don't know, but I wonder what is. I thought Omra would be a celestial. So do they have homes in the lower spheres that maybe that's accessible to people?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Whew. Like, what's your home like once you're in celestial spirit level? Jill and then Michaela.
Didn't it say in the book that this was the crossover land, I want to say? This was he used a phrase. Let me see if I can find it. But it was not it was where they, or maybe it was where he was describing where the people who passed the test, or the person who passed the test, where they would go.
No, that's poetess.
That's
home.
the poetess land. Okay. Or the home like the poetess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I want to say is that second sphere, probably. Because if that's where the children goes to, the boy was going to go there after he passed, and he's in a good condition and there's compensation. So I'm assuming top of first, second sphere, which is already like indescribable. I mean, I get why when you get to second sphere, you stay there a while. I get it now. Oh, Jill, yeah.
I found it. It says in the second last paragraph, it says, but this I was told was not heaven upon which my eyes were feasting. It was but the Beulah land, or link between the lower and higher conditions of the soul's development.
So is it fifth sphere, sixth sphere, fourth?
I was a little confused on where exactly they were.
I'm just.
But it seemed important. Like, it seemed important to, because he went into a big description of where he was.
Yeah.
Where everybody was going. So yeah, I don't know.
But everybody who heard the bell we're gonna go to the place that's near the poetess's house. I remember clearly. Michaela, go ahead.
I can't believe it's not so high. Like, I'm amazed. For some reason, I just assumed that I was misunderstanding and that it was in the celestial heavens. So that's amazing that it's that amazing and expansive, and it's not even.
Yeah.
But Omra is a celestial spirit, right? Is that?
And Myhanene and Kushna, and they all have homes, in all the different regions.
Right. Okay, I didn't get that. Cool.
Yeah, because Kushna has a home for the children. And he has a home of rest. Like, he has all these beautiful homes for all these different stages of people's recovery.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah. Michael?
So we'll spend more time. The second question is about that link, that
Okay.
quote that you had, Jill, about the link. And he said it was a link. He didn't say it was the link. So their language is real. He's careful about what he says. I'm thinking it's not the seventh sphere. I'm thinking it's the sixth, somewhere between the second and the sixth.
Yeah. Gotta be.
Yeah. And I feel like I want to give a shout out to Isaiah for having a feeling and trying to put words to his feelings and introduce concepts to the people of his day. So the other questions for this overview look is, why do you think Fred was invited to view the promotion ceremony and then brought where he could glimpse Omra's home? And does everyone get a chance to see, the heights like he did? And then we've been talking about the effect of the chapter on us, but there's more room to talk about that here too.
Thoughts? Who wants to go? Okay.
Well, it seems like, particularly in Aphraar's case, I guess because he wants to know, they're always trying to give information about what's going to inspire us forward.
Right.
And I love that, like, further down the chapter, it talks about how even where Omra's house is, he's still looking forward. So there's always that forward inspiration. And it makes me want to, I guess God is always giving us that potential to see forward. And it makes me wonder where in my life I'm having those opportunities to see forward and whether I'm recognizing them or not.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. Well, with what Michael said, when he saw the house, he felt calm and peace, right, Michael? And you can see how attractive that is for Michael and what it's an incentive. I look at it and I go, home. That's my incentive. Like, whew. So we're all, feeling that call. Selena.
So it just occurred to me, because Aphraar has so much desire to move forward, that might have something to do with his ability to be able to be shown. Because even with all his desire, it was still difficult. It's still.
Oh yeah.
It was still like, okay, I've had enough. You got to take me back. It was him. He said, not them. It was enough. So you would have to have quite a desire to progress. And I can't imagine that they were just trying to keep him really motivated and all that. But for some people, they might be so overwhelmed that they would be undermotivated if they did that,
Yeah.
Really have that desire. Like, they would be like, oh, that's way too much. I can't be that. Because you would also feel what you'd need to be there, I think. Yeah. So that would be something that would be hard to take. You'd have to have the ability to handle that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I guess he must have, because that would be a lot. Yeah.
One time when I was doing mediumship, it was a child, and there was a conversation, and then the guides came to take the child, and I was like, "Were you taking him? Can I come?"
Mhm.
So I was taken to a place that is similar to the Myhanene Corral, and even before I got there, I was already like, take me back, I can't, take me back,
Yeah.
out, now. I could just feel there was some kind of discomfort in the love, in the intensity, the aliveness. I was like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
closed my eyes. I was like, take me out now. I can't do this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And interestingly enough, people that have what do they call that? Near-death experiences where they take somebody with them. Like some people go and then a person that's with them actually goes to see where they're going, like a person that's not died, and goes with them.
Okay.
And the person, it's not really a near-death experience. The person does actually die. I can't remember, they have a word for it, but they go with them and they see, but it's pretty overwhelming when you're not even dying, like, and you go with them just to say, kind of go, oh yeah, this is where you're going. Oh, and this is where we say goodbye. And
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot for
Yeah.
them to handle. Yeah.
No, yeah, I can, yeah. Whew. I mean, that's an overwhelm of a good experience. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Others? So yeah, I like that Michaela brought up the incentive, and then Selena brought up the desire. You gotta have both. You gotta have a desire, and then the incentive will help to keep you pulling you forward. Yeah. Michaela?
And I reckon a decent sense of worth. Otherwise, like what you've just said, you wouldn't be able to take it on without thinking that you're shit and you're never going to get there.
Yeah. Yikes. Or even if, well, Aphraar had some kind of a feeling of God's goodness. So even if he didn't have a feeling of worth himself, he had a feeling of God is good and God wants to provide, God wants to care. So that I think is still enough. I mean, ultimately, we are going to be confronting low self-worth, but it's our faith, which is a faith in something that's good or great, or that there's somebody that wants me to be happy. God wants me to heal. It's my faith. So I will go forward because of it, because I have faith in that one being that wants something good for me. I think that alone can also, which is why I guess Jesus is always talking about developing your passion for God, because that's what's going to call you. Otherwise, we may never want to confront low self-worth feelings. We may get stuck there. Yeah. Michael.
Building on what Michaela said, I'm noticing that they took him as far. He didn't say much about his emotions, about how it was affecting him, but they took him like Myhanene practically strained and took him high, really high. So I think they took him as far as they could, and it was quite a distance.
And what
So
a
he was in
gift.
a great desire, and he is also in good shape, good condition, is my guess.
Okay. You mean Aphraar?
Aphraar, yeah. They
Right.
lifted him. They traveled quite a ways.
Myhanene had to give him a lot of energy to take him, a lot of his love to take him up there. Huh. Okay. Okay. Next. Should we move on to the next question?
Yeah. On page 180 of the PDF, Myhanene said the people who were promoted had gone to live in the vicinity of the poetess. Towards the end of the chapter on page 183, after glimpsing Omra's home in the distance, Aphraar says he was told that the incredible vista was not heaven, but the Beulah land, or the link between, or let's see, no, but Beulah land, or link between the lower and a higher condition of the soul's development. What is Beulah land? And I meant to be asking, is this a place in one's sphere, or could it be just a way of referring to several spheres because it is a link between a lower and a higher condition? So then I asked some questions. Does it refer to actual places in the spirit world where souls reside who love God and God's laws? A poetic way of identifying the divine love spheres? And do Myhanene and Omras actually live there?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. It could be a vacation home.
Well, I do believe they live there, but that is one of their, I guess, transitory homes. It could also be a place where certain level of recoveries can happen when you're in a certain sphere. It could be a place of healing, like that place we went to at there was a chapter where the mom was sleeping, and then the other sister got called back. Right, it was somebody's. It was a palace. It was somebody's palace, but it was also a place where people could come for refuge and treatment, which I love. I love the idea that my home can be a sanctuary for other purposes, and people are welcome to. That's lovely. Yeah. So, but I also like the idea that Beulah land is a symbolism for the in between, which could be a variety of stages, a variety of spheres. Could also be that.
That makes sense to me because how can you explain the concept of spheres, earlier in our history when everything in the spirit world was heaven?
That's true.
So,
but you still had to introduce the idea that these homes, as magnificent as they are just an in-between place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was well put. That's true. What you said earlier about Isaiah, really well described. Yeah. Selena.
I just had an interesting thought, talking about the homes where people recover and stuff. So they're all in very different conditions. So to me, it would seem like when your love is what's creating your environment, just think of how progressed these people have to be in order to keep that all put together with all of that lower stuff coming into something that's been created at such a high level. That would be really something. I'm just starting to get more respect for just how much power they have. That, and not every single soul has that. Like you're saying, you would like to do it, and I'm thinking, boy, that'd be quite the undertaking, because you'd have to be really advanced to have a home where you would be doing that kind of stuff, and keep that home and actually, because even the structure of the home is built on love. So you just think of how much love you'd have to do to stay in a pure state of love with people that are definitely not in a pure state of love. Yeah, that would be.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Kind of fits into the idea of when you're expressing your nature, and it's a service that is an extension of your nature. I think there's something about it in itself that feels like endless. It's an endless. The more you give, the more you have to give.
Yeah. You're just seeing, how much energy mining needed to take him farther. And then I'm thinking, what about all the energy that would take to keep everything intact with the piles of people in a bad condition in a nurturing environment? Like to maintain that. Wow.
But if you have this strong desire, because it's part of your nature,
to
restore people that didn't deserve to have those injuries, that is just pouring out of you endlessly. If that's part of that specific area, and then somebody else could have this desire of creating homes where people get to come and let go. And that could be that person's desire to design that home, and it just pours out of you. I feel like when you tap into your own real self, there's an endlessness, there's a bottomlessness to what comes out of you, and it doesn't exhaust you. The more you give, the more you have. The deeper the well gets.
I
wonder. Must be how it works.
But you gotta
Kind of
get
like a
there.
positive feedback that just keeps growing.
Yeah. But you still gotta get there to that condition that's happening, which to me is
Well,
pretty amazing.
this is why I like to observe in myself and others those tiny, tiny beginning of passion. It starts with a tiny,
Mhm.
tiny stream. Find that, because that's the one that as you keep nurturing it, it's going to become a tsunami. So find those places and then go for it. Go to town with it. Hi, Virginia. Okay. I think we're in question 2. Yeah.
So we're on the second bullet, and I thought maybe the phrase Beulah land, because Squire Parsons wrote a song about it, and people have recorded it, and it's a favorite, like, gospel song. It's can be found on Sweet Beulah Land is available on YouTube. I thought maybe it associates with feelings that we have in our sleep state, and that's what it's touching. In addition to everything else it does, it's touching this feeling of where we've been that feels like home, but like an imaginary fairy type place, but it's part of us feels like it's real or wishes it were real. So the way I asked it was, is Beulah land an expression used by mortals to signify a place they know in their sleep state and deeply want to return to, but can't quite describe in their awake state?
Gotta be. Or maybe it was something you visited as a child when your condition was still good enough for it. Could be.
And then I was impressed that it's a location, right? But in the definition that Jill mentioned and that is on near the end of the chapter, it says it's a link between the lower and higher condition. So it's a place, but a condition as well. So
Yeah.
there's a real close association between condition and location.
Like what Selena was talking earlier. Yeah. Yeah. Your home is an expression of you. How is that? Mine will have waterfalls. Just saying. Different soul condition will have different stages of waterfalls.
So I asked, is it a condition of longing for God and spiritual home that is felt by spirits not yet completely healed from sin and transformed by divine love? I don't think that question summarized what we were just talking about.
No.
There's a feeling of longing for something where I belong, but it's just out of reach. And so I'm wondering, maybe as long as we have a little bit of sin in ourselves, that creates a separation. Maybe it creates a feeling of something just beyond our reach.
Right. Okay, it's like what Selena and Jill were talking about earlier of like, it's just fairy tale, it's not for me. Kind of like, right? Like, is that idea of, is Beulah land supposed to mean something that, well, when I was growing up, I lived in a shack, in a factory, because my dad was a guard. And looking up, and at night all the lights are off because I'm in a factory, looking up is the Sultan's palace. So I'm living in a shack and I looked at a palace every night. So the one thing that will never be accessible to me. So there's this feeling of someday I'll be good enough to be just on top of the hill right there, to be good enough to live in a palace. So it does create that big gap. So I see what you're referring to there, Michael. Like, is Beulah land something that you can just see but can never go to because you never be good enough for it? Right. Let's see other comments, Jill.
As I'm losing it, but as Michael was talking, it was it reminded me of a talk I think we had a while ago about what it may have been in the prayer group, but like what keeps you on this path? What
Right.
what part where's that desire to keep going on this path?
What's
And-
your faith? That was chapter 17. I just
Right. What's
listened
your
to it, so-
right? What's your faith?
Yeah.
And I just got the feeling that maybe this is it. Maybe we have all visited this at some point in time in our sleep state, either it was as a baby or at like an infant or
Yeah.
at some point in time, and that this is that pull, that draw that we're all trying to get back to,
Yeah.
or get to, that we can't explain.
Okay.
That it's just that inner pull that
Yeah.
that we can't put words to. Like Michael was saying, that it's, like something that we visited, but we can't put, our mortal selves can't put earthly words to it to describe what that is, to be able to, and maybe that's our pull. I don't know.
Because I have a feeling that anyone that reads that part of that chapter where he's on top of the hill looking out, everyone that reads that must feel something starts to happen. Like I started to feel agitated and disturbed and a bit depressed. And, I wonder if it has an impact on everyone at some point. So you could be right there, Jill. Yeah. I don't think it's meant to torment us with this thing we can never have. Michaela?
Just on that theme, really, like my feeling about it is that it is a place that is always going to inspire you to on to the next place.
Okay.
And what you were saying before about you were in the shack and there was the palace on the hill, like I'm sure we'll get to a place in our relationship with God, because we're always going to be aspiring to something more,
Right.
because of the infinity. So we'll get to a place though where we're not feeling disturbed by it or pissed off by it or unworthy of it. We will just be recognizing,
Yeah.
we'll be recognizing that God is infinite. So it's always going to be that way.
Right.
Yeah,
I like
that'll
that
be cool.
idea. I'll always be in a beautiful palatial shack, and then there'll always be a palace just up ahead.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
The
I don't
shack's
mind
just going to
that.
get fancier and fancier.
That would be a beautiful name for any home I ever actually have. The shack. First, it was going to be the sand pit, I think. Now it's going to become that. Okay, thank you. Are we exhausted with this one? Virginia, do you have any thoughts?
Nothing that I can really add. I understand what everybody's talking about. I feel that as well. And when I read that chapter, it was emotional, but it was in a way that sort of gave me hope. And I have faith that God wants all of us to be there. And and I'm thinking, like how, it's going to be such a long time, right? If I look at time, but just the feelings, how he describes being there, it's indescribable. And I think that, we do all long for that.
Yeah.
So it is
because we know it.
A lifelong yearning here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
And it also seemed to me that it could be another word for the promised land.
Yeah.
Just introduces that idea. Okay, let's see. Okay. On page 180, Fred asks where Omra lives, and Myhanene replies that Omra's home is so glorious and distant, he doesn't know if he could lend Fred enough strength to see it. Fred replies that while he is thirsty for knowledge, he has seen so much already that he is worried about getting overloaded. So he will leave it to Myhanene's better judgment. To which Myhanene says, "Okay, let's go." He says to him, "Come with me, come then with me. Every cup in heaven is filled to overflowing. You remember the promise of Christ. You must realize it here. To him that hath shall be given, yea, even good measure, pressed down and running over. Neither is there any need to be anxious, for the overflow cannot be lost. Your memory may not recall it at once, but when the need arises, it will be forthcoming. Therefore, come on and look as far as possible along the pathway of your future unfoldment." And I just felt this passage was pregnant with ideas for meditation and the nature of God, and how different it is from the way I think of my mind and my soul now.
It's basically saying get used to being overwhelmed.
And don't try, like I try to hold on to everything,
Ah,
but here he is, and I can't. But here he's saying what you need or what you want to access, you'll be able to recover. It'll come back to you. So
okay.
don't worry about that, Michael.
Okay. I like that. Okay.
So,
What's your question about that?
well, just to give us a chance to comment on the way our souls are designed, and maybe about God's nature in making us this way.
Okay.
Just throwing it open for comment.
Thoughts? Selena?
It's and I think we're programmed here on Earth that we get educated in phases. Like you can't go to the end and make, it's a progression, right? And I think Aphraar kind of feels like he should try to stick with this progression of, like, I shouldn't go to a thought I don't understand at all when there's thoughts before it that I kind of sort of understand. Like I should understand it all, and then I can go on to the next and have a progression. And I think what he's saying is, no, you don't need to do that. You can just get a big download, a whole bunch of stuff, and then sort of sort it out as it comes. Like that's okay.
like
That's
that.
a good way to learn it. Like, because we are very linear in how we learn.
Yeah, that's
maybe
right.
in the spirit world, it doesn't have to be that way.
Or even for us now here, when we're learning from our guides, we could just get a download, or God's feelings can just
Yeah, like you get a feeling of something that you aren't even close to yet.
Yeah.
But it's good to have it. Like, oh, that's what that could feel like. I could feel like that someday,
like the soulmate feeling I got.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
that. So that's the thing. Oh, because we really are good at stopping ourselves from doing that.
Yeah.
Like I have all these steps in between that I need to do first before I can
Yeah.
have that. And he's saying, nope, you don't. You can just go for it. Go right to the absolute limit of your ability of absorbing this emotion and this learning.
Right.
That's okay.
And then you can
learn that
sort it
way
out.
too. Yeah.
So what's the addiction that makes us want to go linear like that? Or fears?
Yeah. That's what we're taught. It's what we're,
Well, what is it?
it brings to mind my nephew. He could do the math. Like he could just put the answer down. And the teacher was like, no, you have to do the work. And that just ticked him off.
Show the steps.
He didn't want to show the work. He didn't want to show the steps. He knew the answer. Who cares what the steps are?
Yeah.
And he's really smart. He's a doctor now. He's smart. And it kind of made him kind of ticked off about school. And he had a whole year at the end where he hadn't done any of his homework. It wasn't going to pass because he didn't want to do that.
Yeah, math, you got to show the process. You got to show the theorem.
Oh, yeah, he didn't want to. Yeah, he thought it was all done.
Okay. Thank you. Virginia?
Well, two things that I get from this. One is, and there is always so much talk and reference to abundance. Like
Yeah.
cups are overflowing, and there's just, it just seems like there's so much abundance. And
Yeah.
everywhere that Aphraar goes in the spirit world, and here we have such a lack mentality, and I was raised with that.
Yeah.
I'm really getting tired of it. It's like, because it's it doesn't make you feel good, and I
No.
just I really want that in my life, to feel abundant, even though I have a lot.
Yeah.
Still have these feelings of lack.
Yeah.
With the learning, it was actually kind of comforting for me, because I feel like sometimes like I'm in the middle of a circle, and that I'm learning this, and this little
Yeah.
bit, but I've not really become an expert on anything. I don't feel like
Yeah.
I've completed my learning with anything.
Yeah.
But I just keep learning whenever there's the opportunity to learn more about something.
Yeah.
And not having to pressure myself to complete each task, because that's really how we are, that there's a lot of merit in that, finish it
Yeah.
and be good at it, and just that kind of
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
And I have been that, but lately in the last few years, I've not. I'm
Okay.
just learning as it comes, and as the opportunities come to learn.
Which is based on your desire, based on your guides' mind map on your development, which doesn't have to make sense to you, but
And I
somebody's
think
got a
that
plan.
sometimes, oh, wait a minute, shouldn't I be finishing this, or shouldn't I be finishing that? Oh,
Yeah.
but the opportunity to do this is here right now, so let me do that.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
I'm kind of going with that, and I feel like I'm all over the place sometimes,
Yeah.
but I know
Okay.
that was
But it's
it.
probably
It seemed
perfectly
like
on.
it's okay, so
Yeah.
nothing wrong with the way I'm doing it.
Or maybe it's perfectly on schedule, on a syllabus that at some point it'll all come together and you see the perfection of it.
Mm.
Yeah, different kind of learning. Thank you. Jill.
What came to mind was that, we're taught, or the saying, that you have to learn to walk before you can run, you have to learn to crawl
Right.
before you can walk, you have to, that kind of stuff. And it seems, it's like, okay, well, but now you're telling me that as a baby, I could have gone from crawling to running.
Or
I
like my
don't
children walking to crawling.
walking to crawling, sure. I don't know if I was ever a big crawler. I have no idea, but um yeah, it seems like some things that we have to do in a step process, like to learn in a step process, but maybe there's other things that we can just jump right into and just learn everything that we have. I don't know. That was just what kind of came.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Michael?
Another image for this that comes to me is, if you can imagine a grappling hook on a rope, and you've got this, you're at the base of a cliff or a castle wall, and you're spinning and you're throwing it, and so you attach onto something really high and start pulling yourself up, just
Right.
climbing the outside. And I think for these, it's a soul way of learning, is to engage the passion, the desire, the longing, because we can't imagine the steps. I don't think I can imagine the steps I'm going to need to make that height. But
Yeah.
if my soul is engaged in drawing it towards me, and I'm also humble and open, those are other qualities that will help in learning. It's just a different way of learning.
Okay.
And the only way that we can go through this unknown territory
Okay.
of the soul.
engaging. So what you're saying is it's about engaging the process, like what Virginia is saying. This is in front of me. She engages with it and therefore learn. So, I think there's a question forming to ask our guides or Aphraar later. There seems to be I'm getting a hint of the question. Michaela?
I think for me to stop the overwhelm and is about control. Like I don't want to jump to that height because I can't control it.
Yeah.
So that's the addiction for me. But I really like the idea that maybe we're having, I might have to stop in a second, that maybe we're having these learning experiences in the sleep state and that they are coming into us and we do have a connection to them and a knowing about them.
Right.
So I really like the idea that it's there and it will come to us when we're ready to be open to it.
Okay.
And it also reminded me of the poem in the last chapter and the question that we asked Aphraar about the seeds, the little seeds that are planted.
Yeah.
Like what you and Virginia were both saying, like that these little ideas come and I guess over time we can develop them when our interest is in that direction or when our condition is ready to understand more about that concept of truth. Yeah. But I also found reading this section like frustrating because it's like, well, if this is happening to me, then why am I not aware of it? Why is it not making my life better? Why am I still suffering? So it just felt annoying, really. Yeah. And also when he said, to him that hath shall be given, what do we have? What is that we need to have?
Yeah, exactly. That sentence, to someone who has, more is given. Yeah, that's a really good. I meant to ponder on that sentence too. Good one, Michaela. So are you saying, well, to somebody who has love, more is given? To somebody who has generosity, more is given? Like what's like, and also Aphraar, he had a sense of friendship with everybody. That's what he cultivated when he was on earth. He reached out as a brother to everyone, and here he is, just having so many friends, just back to back to back. They just pass him on like a baton. So I wonder if that could be what it means, Virginia.
I thought it meant having faith.
Ooh, good one. Yeah. Right. For those who have faith, more will be given. I like that too. Michael?
And I thought it was just whoever possesses, like if you have abundance, you're going to get more abundance. It's like God is going to keep heaping things. If you have a cup full of grain, you're going to get more grain poured on top of your cup. That's just how generous God is.
I like that. Thank you. Kayla?
One thing that came to me after last week, and then this section sort of inspired it again, was I'm just going to try believing in the fact that this is true and even try being grateful for the fact that it's true and see what happens as a result of that. Because I realized this last week that I have an addiction to being this grumpy, whiny old bitch. And it's like, maybe I could actually get rid of that and be happy about what I do have and happy about what God is giving to us. I just don't believe it yet, but maybe I could try believing it.
Just start with the idea. Because once you choose to see it, you'll see it. And maybe that's a faith building exercise. Maybe that's how you develop faith. I like that. Keep us informed of your experiment.
Yeah, I'll see how I go kicking that grumpy old bitch off my back.
Ouch. Ouch, ouch. Okay. Well, you gave it enough time to let some stuff be expressed. And then at some point you're like, okay, I'm tired of this. That's enough. Okay. And are there other questions after that, Michael?
Well, there's one more question. Should I
Okay.
go on to the fourth one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to read a couple paragraphs from the chapter, and it's about truth. And coming into this chapter, I thought that my idea was that God had absolute truth, and so we will all learn absolute truth, and that means the closer we get to God, the more our knowledge is the same.
Yeah.
Right. And this looks different from that. And so it's resetting my thinking, and I'm wondering if this is happening to you too. So I'll read this. So Fred speaking, Aphraar. In my intercourse with our sister, she seemed to give expression to opinions which differed considerably from those I have heard expressed by others. Was I correct in my conclusions, or do you think I misunderstood her? I have no doubt you are quite correct, Myhanene replies. We have very marked differences of opinion on some points. How is that? I surely expected to find all such divisions at an end here. There is a vast distinction, my brother, between differences and divisions. I know that on earth, differences of opinion frequently cause very painful divisions, but it is not so here, where we have learned that the truth but makes us free. We have arrived at the knowledge that no man can grasp, much less monopolize, the whole of truth. But every mind appropriates its own congenial molecule. By and by, the whole of this variety of thought will be gathered together as a florist arranges his flowers into a choice bouquet. Every individual mind will then give utterance to its natural tone, and the volume of the whole will create and produce the perfect harmony of truth's full chord. That's it.
Thoughts? There's no one absolute truth. There's going to be differences, but not discord. Where does that take you?
Maybe truth is a chord and not just individual strains, but truth is multiple,
Okay.
all adding up to something which is truth.
So each of us are a strand of it. So even though we may sound different, we're just different strands. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say it's different, but yeah, it is different, but they interact, they relate
Come together
harmoniously to each other.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself.
Selena.
This is my favorite part of the chapter. I really liked it. They were talking about this because it comes up so often, especially the groups like with mediumship and stuff, they having differences of what you feel, even though over time we kind of learn like there's themes of things, so we can all have a different experience, but that doesn't mean that it's not all the truth of what's going on,
Right.
And developing more and more, so I like that because and developing more faith in that because it's really hard for people, particularly when they start doing these things, when they don't have the same experience as other people, then they think, well, I can't do this,
Yeah, exactly.
So it
And then you
stops
shut
them.
down your gift.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you just got to keep work. I just really liked that they said that, because I think truth is, on any topic of truth, it just goes bigger and bigger and deeper and deeper, and it keeps expanding. It's kind of, there is no real end to any particular truth.
Okay. So there's room for you to continue developing your ideas and keep progressing on it instead of shutting you down. Because you never know. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Jill?
Yeah, I kind of same kind of thing where um it's we could all be interested in the same thing, but because we're all unique, we're gonna bring our own
Yeah,
truth to it, I guess, or I was gonna say our own take to it,
yeah,
but like our own truth. Like, I mean, I may be interested in plants, but I'm gonna bring a different flavor to it or a different truth to it
yeah,
than you are or that somebody
absolutely.
else is. So maybe that's kind of what he was talking about. Yeah,
Yeah. And therefore, you don't have to waste your energy comparing yourself to somebody else to assess if you add up or if you are in the wrong education altogether or wrong field altogether. You don't
right.
have to. Yeah, you don't have to
Yeah,
compare.
that's a good point because I was taken aback by this. Like I thought we were all working towards the same truth. Like I thought we were all working to get to one point.
Yeah,
And but if we're only yes, we're working to get to that one point, but we're bringing our own uniqueness to it.
different facets of the diamond.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, Virginia?
I did have the perception that in heaven, there'd be like one truth and that everybody would just all be in agreement there because there'd be one truth. But you're still an individual that has
Yeah,
different perceptions and experiences something totally different from the same event.
yeah,
Much like here on earth, but we're not very good about respecting other people's perception.
yeah,
We think only ours is right, that we have the truth. And I mean, look at all the things that happen because we can't seem to agree that way.
yeah,
But I thought that was just so lovely yeah, we bring different opinions and different perceptions to things,
yeah,
even though they all still know truth
yeah.
and love, and that's I just thought that's so cool. That's really-
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay.
When I read this section, it reminded me of the experience I had with the boy's father and how there was always conflict around virtually anything that came out of my mouth. And I just to be in a place where you can have a conversation without any conflict and you can connect on the conversation because you have this sense of underlying, it's like there's a solid foundation that's in place that supports the way that we exist, and
Yeah,
we can bring our personality through that foundation, and that
yeah,
um, yeah, that's all I can think of.
I like it. We all kind of feeling what this passage is saying, which is the expression of our personality through the nuance of the truth. It will still have our flavor wherever we are. 3,000-4,000 years down the road, we'll be like, oh yeah, that feels like Jill right there. That would be her flavor of truth right there. Somewhere along the way, you're like, I can see Selena's chord right there. That's her perspective coming through. I kind of find we'll always be able to detect each other. Jill?
As everybody was talking, I was just kind of feeling that that's pretty amazing how God's allowed us to be individual within the truth. Like, yeah, God may have given us this truth, but she has allowed us to take it on through our own individuality,
Yeah,
who we are and that kind of thing. I think that's pretty cool.
very cool. Okay, I've come up with a question we could ask Aphraar. We could ask Aphraar a question about the differences in learning. The Aphraar is going through a certain technique of learning that is not common to us on Earth. So we could ask something like, why is Aphraar's way of learning the way it is in spirit world compared to how it is on Earth? And how is it that his way of learning is more beneficial? Does that question make sense? Or you want to ask, you want to reframe it differently? Okay, how would you want to? Basically, we're asking, so Aphraar seems to be going through a way of learning that's just looks like it's all over the place. Then he just gets overwhelmed, where we tend to think about, we tend to think about learning in a linear way. You master a particular point, and then you move on to the next, and you move on to the next. But he seems to be just, there seems to be just this popcorn going on. So we could ask, why is Aphraar's way of learning in this way compared to how we would have learned on Earth? And how is this way of learning more beneficial? Do you want to ask that, or is there something else you'd like to ask? Is that good? Okay, because that way we could then respect and relax with how we are being taught by our guides, which may seem like all over the place, but there could be a plan. So let's go ask that and then see what we get. I'm mute, sorry about that. Revealing answers. Who wants to start? Michael, do you want to start?
I just got an image. It seems like I saw like a little blue light, like a laser, and to me that would be the mind focusing on a problem and going, sequentially, linearly, versus a globe involving more. So like my mind is really pointed, but my soul is bigger and broader, and there's some advantage to involving the whole soul in all its faculties and not just what you can focus on.
Wow. Okay. Which is what the guides are able to respond to us as our teachers on Earth. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Next. Okay.
I got that it's very similar to Michael. I think that it's all parts to the whole, and the whole is far beyond our ability to conceive. And these learnings will all come together. And the bandwidth is so much bigger when you let us choose how to or what to teach you. And our bandwidth is based on our condition of love, and the bandwidth is very narrow at this point on Earth. And I want to control my bandwidth based on my desire to maintain addictions and certain relationships. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Next.
So I got that it was it's all pieces to a puzzle, and it reminded me of a description that I think Myhanene said in the book. It says that even though your cup overflows, you can recall it at any point in time in the future, like it's always there. So then I asked, well, how does that benefit us? And it's right now we all have blinders on, and so very similar to what everybody else is saying, that if we only learn one thing at a time, which is these blinders, then we're blind to everything else in our soul.
Wow.
So it's yeah.
Thank you. Virginia?
Very similar to what everyone else has, because I was thinking I keep seeing this circle, but also that the path that we're on, like Jesus says, it's a narrow path. God's way, like the way, is a narrow path. But that's just my own perception of what that looks like. There is like so much on it on the way that if we stay to our linear way of learning, that you are missing out on so much. And that if we trust those that know exactly what we need when we need it, they're so much closer to God than we are, then we are going to be better prepared to understand the next big learning and to take our next step forward.
Okay.
It's all just preparing us
Yeah.
for more.
Okay.
And
Thank
just
you.
have trust and faith in that.
Yeah. Trust our teachers because they have a syllabus. Yeah. For us. So what I got was that Aphraar's soul was hungry, like it was empty and it needed filling up. And it felt almost like a pain, like the hunger, the emptiness in the soul hurt from lack of truth. And so by filling up all the pathways, it all started to fill up, it started to activate the soul, all these different parts of our soul started to wake up and come together. And then over time, there was like a cohesiveness of it. But I didn't realize that we're hungry for knowledge, for truth, and it hurts to not have it. And so it was that hunger, that discomfort that was being satisfied for Aphraar. And that by taking advantage for the hunger in the soul for what it wishes to know, that's the advantage. What our guides wish is to respond to what we're hungry for. It's a huge advantage to teach us that way. Yeah. Okay.
I had an experience the other night at like 4 a.m. when I woke up and I could feel all the empty holes in my soul and how much longing was in them. So that's exciting.
Wow.
That makes me excited what you just said.
Yeah. That's and somebody like Aphraar with the life he had, gosh, he was hungry. And they had to satisfy. I guess it was like a law of compensation. He wanted truth and he was denied it. And here it was being poured into him. And water. I mean, he mentions that repeatedly in the books, but I actually felt it going, oh, it wasn't just a figurative term, it was a literal term. He was literally hungry. Yeah. All right. So that's that for today. And then next week is the last chapter.
Is
See you all
it?
next
Is it
week.
the last? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought there was a couple more. Okay.
For 3 weeks now, I've been warning everybody. It's coming. Which is why we're planning the party to celebrate the end of the books.
You've been telling us the end is near.
Yeah, totally. Okay.